Okay, we're going to start working with geometry now, and one of the first units that we're going to start out with is circles. And circles are something that are a lot of fun, and um, you guys already know what a circle looks like, you know what shapes look like, but we're going to really dive into what actually makes a circle. And to do that, we're going to talk about what we're basically going to talk about a square and a rectangle first. So I've got a square on this board here, and this square, it doesn't matter how long it is or whatever, it just has four equal sides. So the way that we identify that is we use these things called hash marks. So that's called a hash mark. That's saying that this this line up here and the one on the bottom are the exact same length, and the one on the right and the one on the left are the exact same length. If I were to put two hash marks, that means that the top and the bottom are the same length, but the two on the sides are different lengths. So anyway, there's just a tiny bit about a circle. I mean, a square. What we know about circles is we know that a circle is round. We know that a circle, and that's not a very good circle. We know that a circle is round. We know that tires are circles. We know that we can identify circles in the real world, and we know what they look like. But the one thing we don't know is that a circle really is a polygon. And a polygon is a shape that has at least three sides that are three links on their things. So a triangle, there's one side, there's two sides, there's three sides. A rectangle, there's one side, there's two sides, there's three sides, there's four sides. So what makes a polygon is that there's at least three sides. There can be more. So we ask ourselves, well, if I've got a circle, um, how can a circle have three sides to it? And so what I'm going to show you right now is the reason why. So a circle is actually a square. So now that I've just confused you, I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So I've got a square on this board. What I did was I made a copy of the square, an exact copy, same lengths, and it may be a little off a little bit, but anyway, it is very, very similar. If I were to take that square, put it down, and actually let me change the color of that square. Let's change the inside color. Fill color, let's make it blue. Okay. Now let's take this next square, and if I laid it right on top, it should be equal, you know, it should be right on top. And let's make the fill color on this, let's make it green. So now I've hidden the blue square that's on the bottom. Well, if I take the top square and I turn it, oops, kind of like that. It's not perfect, but it's there you have it. And let's take another square, and let's make this fill color. Let's make it pink. All right, so I'm gonna put it back on the blue. And if I take this one and I turn it, kind of kept it on top a little bit. And I'm not really good at just don't judge what my my drawing and my how I do this, but it's the idea that kind of helps you out figure out what it is. So now I've got an orange one, and let's kind of turn that one a little bit. And so if I continuously copy this square and copy it and copy it and copy it, eventually I will get a circle. And the way that that works out is that a circle, eventually, if I keep going, this thing will end up being a circle. And that's what makes a circle a polygon, because it's got several sides, that more than 3 sides. Every little bitty spot on a circle is a point. So you can go as tiny as that. So in theory, a square, if I were to stretch that square out, that square would eventually become a circle. You need to know that a circle is a polygon. All right. So I've given you these notes here, and what I'm going to show you guys how to do is we're going to label the different parts of a circle based on what we know and how we can calculate different things and just identify what a circle truly is. So what we call the outside of a circle is called a circumference. So that is the outside of a circle. On the inside of a circle, this is called the center of the circle. And the center of the circle is basically, if I take this and fold it in half and fold it in half again, I can have a little point right in the middle. That is the center of a circle. The center of the circle, from the center of the circle to the outside of the circle, is called the radius. Then you have one point on the circle that goes through the center and goes all the way to another point of the circle. That is called a diameter. And then there's also something called from one endpoint, and they call it an endpoint, to another endpoint on a circle. It could be this, it could be this, it could be this. It could be anything that does not go through the center, but it does go from one end of the circle to the other end. So none of these pink lines go through the center. This is called a chord. And those are the different parts of a circle. Now, what you've kind of noticed, you could probably figure out from this diagram that I've given you, that if I wanted to find the diameter of a circle, I know that and I didn't want to write it in that color, the diameter of a circle, that goes from one end of the circle to the other end of the circle and crosses through the center. Well, what else crosses through the center? What else crosses through the center? Well, your radius does. So you've got a radius that it's half of the diameter. So if I take the radius and I multiply it by 2, that will give me my diameter. Using that same strategy to find the radius of a circle, you're going to take the diameter, and I'm gonna just use the d, and I'm going to divide it by 2. So if I were to take that diameter and divide it by 2, I will get the length of the radius. If I need to find the diameter, which is the length from one endpoint to the other endpoint and going through or going through the center, I can multiply it by 2. So there's 2 formulas for you right there on how to calculate different parts within a circle. We're also going to introduce something new. So within the circumference of a circle, the circumference of a circle is the outside of a circle. So if you want to think of that as the letter C, that, the big gigantic C, you can. But the circumference is all the way around the circle. It's the distance around the circle. And in order to find the circumference of a circle, circumference is pi r squared. And we're going to do an activity this week so you can figure out how to determine what the circumference is and how pi works and what pi actually is. You'll never have to memorize the numbers. You just need to know that pi is 3.14, and we're going to do an activity tomorrow or within the next couple of days to show you how we come up with that number. Every single circle has that number calculated in it, no matter what size. All right, so the distance from the center of the circle to any point on the circle is called the radius. If we measure the distance around the circle, so around the circle, that is called the circumference. And then a line segment whose endpoints lie on the circle, but do not go through the center. The center of this circle is right here. It does not go through the center. That is called a chord. And then lastly, a chord that passes through the center of a circle. So a chord is just basically like the word it says, the word chord. It's like an extension cord. You can drag it across the floor. Well, that's what we're doing. We're dragging it across this circle. And if it goes from one point to the other point without going through the center, it is just a chord. But if it actually goes through the center of the circle, it is called the diameter. And those are the parts of the circle.